Singapore's economic growth has slowed as global headwinds mount, with challenges also darkening the immediate outlook. Advanced estimates by the government indicate the economy grew by 3.8% in 2022. All that is slightly above official forecasts, but a moderation from the 7.6% growth in the previous year. Economists are expecting a further slowdown in the coming months, with recovery anticipated to only start picking up in the second half. Heidi Ng tells us more.
Economic growth slowed in the last quarter of 2022. It expanded by 2.2% on year compared to the 4.2% in Q3. All sectors grew on a year-on-year basis in the fourth quarter, except manufacturing, which shrank 3%. The construction sector grew by 10.4% on year, accelerating from the 7.8% growth previously. MTI says output contractions in the electronics, chemicals and biomedical manufacturing clusters outweighed growth in precision engineering, transport engineering and general manufacturing. One economist says manufacturing growth will likely remain soft in the first half of 2023.
A good part of Singapore's manufacturing is very much concentrated in electronics and chemicals. And I think these two key industries may likely see further headwinds into at least in the first half of this year. Why? Simply because of the fact that China is the world's largest importer of electronics as well as petrochemicals.
Mr. Gan expects 2023 GDP to grow by 3%. He says while growth momentum will slow in the first half, it will stabilize in the second half.
We are seeing the peak Fed fund rates at between 5 to 5.25%. But do note that we are also expecting the Fed fund rates to stay unchanged after hitting the peak, for the rest of this year. And this basically gives the understanding for, somewhat of a recovery momentum. The gradual reopening of China, if it does happen this year, will be a very strong boon for Singapore's services sector.
The services sector as a whole grew by 4.1% in the fourth quarter, with accommodation and food services up by 8.2% as borders reopened and restrictions lifted. Another economist expects uneven growth across sectors in 2023 and for full-year GDP to grow by a more modest 1.7%.
Some of the sectors that are doing quite well are those that are more domestic-oriented, like construction as well as the domestic-oriented services sectors. But I think some of the more externally oriented ones for manufacturing as well as the services, I think they are likely to be dampened by the external slowdown.
He adds that sectors like modern services for information and communication as well as financial services are growing at modest paces and will serve as barometers for the outlook ahead. MTI has said it expects slower growth of between 0.5% and 2.5% for 2023.